What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are here to discuss some of the latest Detroit Lions news. The Lions have made some roster moves over last night and this morning to get down to the 85 players on the roster, moving players, but also adding players. So let's get it started.
Way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome and ready to our video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we have some Detroit Lions news to discuss. We are back with another episode of Lions Latest. Man, it feels good. I love the Lions Latest episodes. And I thought today I would break this apart from my training camp video. In the past, I've kind of put these little updates in there like, oh, the Lions signed this guy with the training camp. But there's enough news to discuss where I can just break this into 2. And we can just talk about the moves that the Lions have made over last night and this morning. And then next, I'll have my training camp video. That's the plan, is to have that video come out next. Not exactly sure when that will come out. Those usually take a little bit longer, but I'm getting my notes prepared for that one. And then my defensive video from the Lions versus the Bills, that could be pushed to tomorrow, potentially, depending on how the time works out today. So we'll just have to wait and see how it works out. I'm not completely sure. And of course, Last Second Dose tomorrow. It's going to be on Rad's channel, so make sure you guys come in and check that out. Before we get this thing started, and I'll give my shout-outs during the training camp video, I do have to give a shout-out once again to Michael Banks because he hooked us up. And you may have seen the videos on social media when I was in his man cave last night, which, by the way, was just incredible. However, he hooked us up with some stuff for the background. Appreciate it, Michael Banks. It definitely... There's some really cool additions. I'm just going to be honest here. I know I got to hook my guy up with some merch. That's my plan to do that, but don't tell him. Okay, anyways, I just wanted to show you guys what we got going on. Of course, we have this. This is a new addition. It's kind of like it's like a magnet, but you can put it around your neck. So I could wear that. But I actually like it because it sticks to the whiteboard. I was like, what am I supposed to do with it? It sticks to the whiteboard. It fits perfectly. And this thing, this might be the coolest thing, to be honest with you. A mini helmet. I don't think I've ever had a mini helmet. Have I ever had I mean, I've had like these ones, you know, you get out, you put the quarter in. But a mini helmet, that's clean. This is really clean. I don't even know if I want to take this thing out of the box. I kind of just want to leave it in the box because it looks real cool in there. Yeah, okay, we got a mini helmet. Now, I can't fit into this. I don't know who could, but it looks cool. So I like that spot for it. A couple more things. This guitar. This is a sweet guitar. He had a lot of guitars in his man cave, and he gave us this Lions one. It's got the stand. I don't want to drop it, but woo! Come on, man. What? Now, hey, I can't play guitar. That's it. This is pretty darn awesome. He had so many NFL footballs, and he gave me this one. I was like, you don't got to do that. But it was a gift. And I appreciate it. This is awesome. This is really cool. So, of course, we got the NFL football. But guess what? It's not just an NFL football. This one got signed by Devon Kennard. Now, Kennard's no longer here. But the dude could get after the quarterback, right? Right, we know that. I know Rad likes Devon Kennard as well. So this one's got the Devon Kennard signature. I wanted just an NFL football in general. But then he put the signature on there. And hold up. And that fits in really well because we already had 2. So we just slide that thing right in the middle. Bam. And we looking good. We looking good. So shout out to Michael Banks. I just had to give that shout out. Like I said, I was in his man cave just to make sure you go follow my guy on Instagram. Show him some love. All right. Because honestly, a lot of this stuff is from Michael Banks. Okay. He hooks us up. So I got to hook him up with some merch. But go show him some love if you could on Twitter or Instagram. Either one. Michael Banks. But now let's get into some of the latest Lions news. And then we'll come back a little bit later where I'll give some updates from training camp. Because it was a very entertaining day in terms of practice from training camp. They went at each other. There was pads on. Golf through some dots. Some dots. There was some monster plays yesterday in training camp. But let's go through some of the latest news first. So here are the roster moves the Lions made. We'll update injuries in the training camp video. The Detroit Lions put their roster moves on Twitter that they made yesterday to get down to the 85-man roster. And one of these moves, they really shocked me. And another one I actually learned when I was at camp, when I saw the guy run out. I was like, wait, who is that? I'm like, hold up, who is that guy? I have not seen him yet. We'll get to those 2 in a second. But let's start off with the first wave of moves that the Lions put on Twitter. The first one was the Detroit Lions waiving receiver Chad Hansen on an injury settlement. We'll get to the settlement part in a second. But this is a receiver that spent time, of course, with Jared Goff back at Cal. He had a little connection there. And he really popped out with the Houston Texans in a very limited amount of opportunities. So he was signed this offseason. He definitely had the build for what the Lions were looking for in terms of an outside receiver. A guy that could probably play X and the Z receiver position. Like I said, he kind of stole the show with the Houston Texans. Texans in a very limited amount of opportunities. But unfortunately, it was really this injury that has us where we are now because we haven't been able to see him in a while. And now he has been waived on this injury settlement. I thought he was growing a little connection with some of these backup quarterbacks. I thought there was a little bit of a trust factor there. Specifically, we saw it in a Family Fest. That double coverage catch was like, oh, snap, I see you, Chad Hansen. So he's flashed. And I think he's really improved over the offseason. And it would have been fantastic to get to see him play on Friday against the Buffalo Bills because even Dan Campbell said it himself. Like, yeah, this guy, he was probably a little bit of a long shot. This is not what Dan Campbell said. This is what I said. He's probably a little bit of a long shot to make the team. But like Dan Campbell said, you know, the games, you get to really figure out, okay, who are your guys? What guys are going to step up? Maybe what guys don't step up? What guys don't rise to the occasion? And that could have been an opportunity for Chad Hansen to really shine and help himself. But unfortunately, with an undisclosed injury, he's missed some time. Of course, he didn't practice this week. He wasn't out there on Friday. And now he has been waived on this injury settlement. Injury settlement side of things is basically so that the player and the team can part ways immediately. And the team will basically pay Chad Hansen for the projected time he is going to miss. I don't know exactly what that is, but whatever it is, the team will pay Chad Hansen for that. And once he's back and he's healthy, he can go out and sign with another team. Possibly could he land back with us? Yeah, he possibly could. Will he? Probably not, because it'll probably be during the regular season. But I guess you never know. Regardless, this is a very unfortunate situation that this is how it went down. Then the Detroit Lions went out and waived the defensive lineman Michael Barnett. This is a former Georgia product on the defensive line. He spent time with the New England Patriots, so you know he fit in that 3-4 scheme just like the Patriots run as well. A guy that could play 3-4 defensive end and nose tackle. Now, with his size, you really couldn't play him at nose tackle on early downs, but he just didn't have the statistic that you love either with Georgia. He was kind of pushed on the roster because he was so talented, but there was a scheme fit here. However, Lions just did not keep him around that long, and that's probably because they didn't really need to. Our interior defense line was extremely limited against the Buffalo Bills, missing a lot of pieces. Like, we know guys like Levi and Brockers, probably Deshaun Hand, Nick Williams. Like, these guys will be here this season. John Pennicini. In that game on Friday, we got to see guys like Kevin Strong, Bruce Hector. They really shined. So we didn't really need to keep around Michael Barnett because, they really flashed. And heck, they've done it in practice as well. It's not even just Friday's game. But regardless, that really got the Lions down to the 85-man roster. And then they made the move, which I was told at camp, that absolutely shocked me. When I heard this, I was like, no way, I don't believe you. The Lions released long snapper Don Muhlbach. Now, not many teams are going to make a big deal out of it. It's like, oh, we released our long snapper. Like, it is what it is. But for the Lions, it's different. It's different because Don Muhlbach has been here for a very long time, and you just don't expect to see that. When we talk about new era in Detroit, it's really a new era in Detroit. This feels like the step of a new direction completely. It started, obviously, with the Stafford trade, Galladay, Joe. We lost a lot of players this offseason. But then to release a guy like Don Muhlbach, a guy that's been here for 17 seasons, the second longest tenured player, this is just nuts that this guy's been waived. Heck, it was his 40th birthday yesterday. That's just awful timing. Unless he's like, hey, for my birthday, can you guys please release me? He could have asked for that. And the way that Dan Campbell spoke on Don Muhlbach was very interesting. He's like, I know this sounds weird, but it's not necessarily that, Scott Daly beat him out and took the job from him. It was just time. And remember, Dan Campbell even played with Don Muhlbach, sort of. And you really don't pay a lot of attention to the long snapper, which is a good thing because that means he's doing his job at a high level. Unless he's messing up snaps, you really don't speak of it. But now he's been released. Very thankful for the 17 years that you gave to the Detroit Lions. Going back to 2004. What? Man, look, I know he doesn't get a lot of attention, but the guy was an absolute stud, okay? We know that the fact that we haven't talked about him a lot, the fact that he was able to stick around for that long with one team, it speaks volumes. And plus, he was brought in by this organization, or I should say this regime this offseason. He was brought back in. But they also brought in long snapper Scott Daly, a 27-year-old long snapper that spent time in the XFL. It's definitely a new direction. He says, I hate that we have to be the people that have to do this. So, I'm wishing Don Muhlbach the best of luck. I appreciate you, Don Muhlbach. I know the Lions put some stuff out on Twitter. Let's just give a quick clap. Wherever you are, put your phone down. Just start clapping. Just give a little clap to Don Muhlbach. He absolutely deserves it. And now we're moving forward with Scott Daly. So I'm sure people will actually be paying attention to the long snapper, at least for the next couple of games, I will say this season, because it's just a huge move. And I didn't believe it when I was first told it. Now, the Lions also signed a player yesterday, which I didn't know until I was at camp, and I'm watching, and I see this guy roll out. I'm like, hold up. Who is this dude? We have another quarterback out there. Jordan Ta'amu is back Jordan Ta'amu is back. And it kind of made sense because, of course, Tim Boyle was dealing with injury. You see him not yesterday, but the day before in practice. He wasn't really out there participating. So David Blau's dealing with a little bit of a shoulder injury. So they bring a quarterback back that has, some connection with the Detroit Lions. He was here at the end of 2020. Back in December, the Lions brought him in. This is a quarterback that spent time with Ole Miss when Shea Patterson left. He became their guy. He was in the XFL. He played for the Battlehawks, 5 touchdowns, 1,000 yards, 8 yards per attempt. I mean, he did pretty well in the XFL, and now he's here with he did pretty well in the XFL. You see how I did that? Good news is that Tim Boyle was back at practice yesterday, but he was not participating in team drills, only individual drills. So we had 4 quarterbacks out there. David Blau was again running the second unit because Tim Boyle wasn't playing in the team drills. So I'm sure it's just because of some of the injuries that we're dealing with and because he has a connection. Schematically, I can see the fit here. He's a RPO quarterback, a lot of spread situations. You look at his time back in the XFL. He's a pretty athletic quarterback as well with some arm talent. He's got a very quick release, and he can drop some dimes on the sideline. He's just had question marks about, basically picking apart defense, picking up blitzes. Ta'amu, I mean, he will utilize that pump fake. If you watch him play, he utilizes it a lot. Some people actually give him knocks for that because he utilizes it too much. But, there's been questions about his decision making, but keep in mind, he's a very young quarterback still. He's got, still time to develop. But I think for the Lions, when you look at the type of quarterback they've been bringing in, a guy with a little bit of athleticism is something that Dan Campbell even talked about, and he obviously brings that to the table. The quick release is there. The scheme fit is there. It's just about seeing him play on Saturday. And there is a film video that I did do back when we signed him the first time last year. So if you guys probably looked it up, DoseOfDion, Jordan Ta'amu, when we signed the first time, we kind of went into more film and, based on what I saw. I'm not going to do that too much in today's video because I want to try to keep this a little bit shorter. But at some point we may. And of course, if he plays on, Saturday, we're definitely going to take a look at how he played. But with some of the injuries, we could potentially see him. We could potentially see him on Saturday. I'm not sure we'll see Tim Boyle on Saturday. As I said, he hasn't really been doing team drills, but it's only been, 2 days of practice. So he was out there doing individual drills. He didn't go through team drills either, probably because he's still getting very acclimated, but they wanted to see his arm, things like that. So Jordan Ta'amu is back for the time being. And I know there's a lot of fans that were very excited about Ta'amu. They're like, hey, play him. I remember that in 2020, man. There was a lot of people excited about this guy. The Lions went out and made a move today to bring in an outside linebacker, but he also could play tight end. And this is a very interesting addition that I really wanted to talk about today. Very excited to talk about today. This is Rashad Berry, who is with the New England Patriots. Now, why am I excited to talk about an outside linebacker that only played in 40 snaps last season with New England? Because I'm not so sure he'll be an outside linebacker with Detroit. Now, he definitely could be. 6'3", 255 last year is what he was listed at, 260 in the past. Did not play much, and really the Chargers game is where we got to see him because they won that game 45-0. And you saw him line up at outside linebacker. Of course, there's a schematic fit there. It's kind of what the Lions are doing. You saw some of those 2-4-5 reps playing at his outside linebacker. He's got some size. He, of course, has a lot of athleticism, which we'll get into. So he definitely could be just more competition for that spot. But to be honest, I like what we have in our outside linebackers, whether it's Charles Harris, Robert McCray, Julian Okwara, Trey Flowers, Romeo Okwara, Austin Bryant. I do like what we have at the outside linebacker spot. And I think McCray has done some big things. So I don't think it's necessary, but it's always a good thing to add competition. I'm thinking there's a chance that he comes in and competes at that tight end position for the Lions. It may not be the case. He definitely could compete at outside linebacker. He started off at Ohio State back in 2016 playing the defensive end position, where even his high school coach said, I think he's better at defensive end because he's explosive. He's got good hands. He's very athletic. He can work along the defensive line. And you can see it with the Patriots as well. His versatility, his athleticism allows him to play across the line of scrimmage. Stunt work is also a very big part that we've seen so far this offseason, even in Friday's game against Buffalo. So that's another place that you could utilize him. Then Ohio State switched him to tight end. They converted him to tight end. Now, if you know Ohio State, they don't really get their tight ends that involved. We also know Jake Hausman has been released. He was with Ohio State as well. But they don't get their tight ends really involved. Their stats are just not there. That's not the kind of offense. Their stats go to their receivers, but they do like to use their tight ends to block. They like the versatility, and they like to pass protect and run block. Career stats for Ohio State was only 19 receptions for 178 yards and 4 touchdowns, which isn't terrible. In a limited amount of opportunities that he did have, he flashed a couple times. In the Rose Bowl, UNLV, I mean, he had a fantastic run after the catch. A guy that played basketball and football in high school at Lorraine High School, and the word was he was going to be able to get a scholarship playing basketball as well, because at his size, I mean, the guy could 360 dunk. He was just a freak athlete. Simple as that. Not to say he's going to make the team, but just think about it. Okay, Jake Hausman has been released. Charlie Taumapau has been waived because of obviously the crash that he was in with Alex Brown, where Dan Campbell just said, we're lucky nobody, basically died, which is very, very true. Very scary situation there. There is no TJ Hawkinson right now competing in practice. We didn't get to see him yesterday either. So the Lions are looking at right now at the tight end position, Darren Fells, who's a lock. They've seen good things from Darren Fells, and he's made big plays. He's really shined. He's flashed a lot more than I thought he would. I have Alize Mack and Brock Wright, but why not have this dude come in and compete for the same spot? The Lions have been running so much 13 personnel recently in practice that it would not shock me if this is a guy that Brad Holmes kind of had his eye on coming out of the draft. And the former Saints tight end that we brought in this offseason, Hill, that ended up retiring, he was a blocking tight end. It wasn't about his passing game and what he could do in the passing game. It was his ability to block, the run blocking. He can line up like an H-back. He can get into the backfield. He can lead block. He's a big hitter. He's got a lot of strength, and he can pick up some blitzers. Ohio State tight ends just don't have a lot of production. Very similar to Jake Hausman and Brock Wright, if we're being honest here. And Alize Mack, more of that pass-catching guy, is a player that even Dan Campbell said, hey, we need to see strides, though, in terms of special teams. And I think there's special teams ability here because of the way that he can move. So I would not be shocked if he comes in and competes at that tight end spot. And it's just someone the Lions give a look to in this game on Saturday, knowing that TJ is not going to be there. There is no Hausman. There is no Taumapau. You need tight ends to compete. Why not give him a chance to just see what he can do, whether that's pass catching or blocking? Get some film on him, and then you can go forward with it. I'm sure Brad Holmes had this guy in their mind. Now, he could play outside linebacker as well, like we have an outside linebacker. Sure, more depth. Never hurts to add more, and we just haven't seen a lot of reps here, so we're not sure what we're going to get from the guy. His ability to move along the defensive line, move laterally, and I'm sure there's drop ability because he just moves well. This is a player that I think competes at tight end. I really do. I think the Lions, they really like their tight ends. Of course, Dan Campbell was a tight end, so I think that's where we see him compete. I'm very interested to see this 6'4", 255-pound tight end / outside linebacker compete and see where they utilize him this season. This is a very interesting signing. Do not overlook this one because there's a very good chance we see him on Saturday. We do have some unfortunate news that I'm going to leave you with here, and this is that the Lions have placed linebacker Sean Dion Hamilton on injury reserved, and that's really just terrible to hear. Sean Dion Hamilton has absolutely made plays this offseason. He's stuck out to Dan Campbell. He spoke on that. He's made plays. And now he's placed on injury reserved, which is terrible because roster cuts are not done, which basically means he cannot be taken off of IR and made eligible for this season unless he is waived on an injury settlement so he can go sign. He will count towards the salary. He just won't count towards the roster spot. So we'll see what happens with him going forward, but that is just really disheartening news from a guy that's been pretty impressive in terms of coverage. He was really the first linebacker that flashed, but he's made flash plays really all offseason. I had some high hopes for Sean Dion Hamilton. Watching him in practice every day was kind of like, this dude can play. Like, he definitely can play ball. And Mark DeLone had some nice stuff to say about him. We'll get to this more on the defensive side, but Mark DeLone also had some really nice things to say about Untitled Chapter now that we're on linebackers. He said, look, I think he's in a really good spot right now, basically to make the team. Everybody knows about that play that he blew the coverage on the play action rollout. There was no one out there. And every time I watch it back, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. It was definitely on him, and Mark DeLone even basically said it was. The point is, the media makes it sound as if Jelani Tavai was just absolutely awful. But if you go and watch the game back, I mean, you'll see that it wasn't just him that was out of spots. I mean, yes, was he out of position on that play? Absolutely. And I think it killed him that the offensive line did what they did. The running back leaked out. It was a really good play design. He followed the offensive line. He was out of position. And we'll talk about this more tomorrow for sure. But this happened to Anthony Pittman multiple times. He gets credit, but he flashed. Jelani Tavai needs those flash plays, and he didn't really have those. I mean, he did the little things you could see, but you wouldn't see it if you didn't watch the game back because it didn't really impact the play directly. Eric Barnes was really good, but he only played the 7 snaps, right? The point is, Sean Dion Hamilton is a tough loss. This is a guy that could have been with the second unit, and not even that, just his coverage ability alone, it stood out. And that's something the Lions needed. They needed an athlete that could cover, and this is what he had. That's what he brought to the table, and he was making plays in coverage. So this is a really, really unfortunate loss for the Detroit Lions. This is your news for today. We'll come out with our training camp soon. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.